Mariners spring training on Root Sports is presented by Magic Toyota, right on Highway 99 in Edmonds.
Hard to believe those are clouds in the skies there in Peoria. Not on a day like today, not just as it Reds Mariners from the Peoria Sports Complex, but it is the return of number 51 back to the lineup for the first time in 2,058 days. Ichiro wearing a Mariners uniform in a game. Yes, Ich, welcome back, buddy. Oh, yes. Saying hi to the crowd. He is back. It's going to be fun to watch him in action. Ichiro and the Mariners taking on the Reds. It's Brad Adam, Bill Kruger in studio here. We're not there. We're excited to watch him play, though. I know it's just spring training, but doesn't he just look right in a 51 back in a Mariners uniform?
I think he's meant to be a Mariner. I know that Marlin uniform, that Yankee uniform, didn't look right on him. Here's a guy, 44, pushing 45, and you think the world thinks he doesn't have anything left. But I think there is something left. He's going to be really motivated to turn it on. I see good things for this year with Ichiro.
It didn't look right in pinstripes either, did he? I didn't like that. All right, Ichiro in the lineup. Let's see where he's batting. See who else is in the lineup. Oh, I love it. Playing left field and leading off. Ichiro Suzuki. You got Segura, Cano, Dan Vogelback, who's been fantastic this spring. Mitch Haniger back in the lineup for the second straight day. Cruz out of the lineup, second straight day. Still feeling the effects of a flu, and you got Romine there batting ninth, playing third base. But again, the story, of course, at the top, Ichiro Suzuki. He's back. We've talked a lot about him the last couple of days since he signed. The news all around Peoria, all about Ichiro. On the complex, you can see signs of Ichiro everywhere. We go out there right now and join the guys calling the game. Aaron Goldsmith, Mike Blowers. Guys, with more on number 51.
All right, Brad, thank you so much. You know, Mike, when I pulled into the complex today in my rental minivan with 2 car seats, I don't think that the 100 people with cameras were waiting to see me, were they?
I think that they were, because after you got into the parking lot, they all left. So I think they were looking for you. No, they were here for Ichiro, of course. And pretty big day today. He's in the lineup for the first time. He's going to lead off. Scott Service saying he's probably going to get 2, possibly 3 at-bats, depending on how the game goes.
Everything we've heard from Ichiro is that the swing is the same. Of course, he looks exactly the same. Are there any expectations? What do you want to see from Ichiro on his first day?
Well, I think that the main thing is just stay healthy. You know, that's the reason why he's here. Ben Gamble is going to be out for a long period of time. It sounds like Ichiro at the start of the season is going to play quite a bit. He'll be in left field with Heredia. Scott saying again this morning, typically he's going to hit towards the bottom of the lineup. The main thing is just get out there and start moving around again. So today's the first step of that. I think overall he'll be fine. I don't think there's any issues with him. If you look at him, as you mentioned, he looks exactly the same as when he was with Seattle the last time. So I think he'll be okay.
Well, Brad, an exciting day. Ichiro back in the lineup today for the Mariners.
Exciting. We get to hear you guys as well. More from Aaron and Mike later. Ichiro back. Your expectations, what you hope to see maybe today?
I don't know what you're going to see today. I think he's obviously going to be excited, even though he's been there and done that. A Hall of Fame player coming back to the place. He did it all. But I expect Ichiro to have that little extra incentive that he can turn it on for a stretch of time and really be a pretty good player. You know he's going to play a nice outfielder, but I think offensively we're going to see a lot more than the 227 he hit last year.
Another guy, you know, we talked a lot about Ichiro, rightfully so, this last week, but another guy returning to the outfield, returning to the lineup, Mitch Haniger, a big part of this team. This is, again, his second straight day in the lineup. And last year, rookie season, really got off to a great start. Good numbers overall. Hit 282, 16 home runs, 47 RBIs, but only 96 games. Had a couple of injuries, hit in the face with a fastball, and again, the big oblique strain that he lost a lot of time for. In April, got off to a great start, hitting 342, OPS over 1,000. And they got injured, and then he kind of figured things out and finished strong. September, hitting 353, 7 home runs, 14 RBIs. So, Bill, you look back at the season, yes, interrupted by injuries, but a lot to like going forward?
Oh, I think anybody that's watched this guy play, there's a lot to like. He's big and strong. He hit the ball at the ballpark, as evidenced by the 16 homers he had. He has good idea about the strike zone. He can play right field. He can throw. I mean, when you look at those bookended months, I mean, it's Jay Buhner-like. Now, the big problem with him, injuries. You saw him miss 9 weeks last year. He's already missed time this year. So the challenge for Mitch is to figure out what exactly he needs to do to stay healthy, how he needs to approach the game, how he needs to approach his conditioning, and hopefully maybe it's just a matter of just a stretch of bad luck that this guy's put that all behind him and he can have a healthy season. If he does, he's 25 homers and some pretty good defense.
That right hand, he says, feeling good. Taking BP in, again, the lineup for the second straight game. Well, the right hand of Mike Leake will take the ball for the Mariners. Leake having a great spring, coming off a great September himself in Seattle. Facing his former team today in the Reds, We'll have the pitching matchup for you. Leak and the Mariners taking on the Reds coming up. By Magic Toyota, right on Highway 99 in Edmonds. And by Safeco Insurance. Find a local agent at safeco.com. Do more. Now, we talked about Ichiro in the Mariners lineup. How about the Reds' Billy Hamilton? Even faster than Ichiro. He's out in center field leading off. They got Votto, they've got Duvall. They've got some power in that Reds lineup today. Those 9 taking on, as we mentioned, Mike Leake. And speaking of Leake, our Lexus pitching matchup. Brandon Finnegan coming over from the Royals in the Johnny Cueto trade. Won him on with a .415 last year. And then Mike Leake, again, that really good September 5 turns there 3-1 and off to a really good spring so far for Leake on the mound against Finnegan and the Reds. And Bill, when you look at Leake and maybe pitchers in general in spring training, do you look at numbers or how do you evaluate how they're doing in spring?
I think guys like Mike Leake, it's not about how the numbers go in spring training. He had a terrific September. He's been a 30-start, a season machine, 6 years in a row. For him, it's more about his own personal approach to the game. He wants to increase his pitch count. He certainly wants to get people out. But this guy is quick to contact, great ground ball rate, doesn't walk people, which can hurt you in spring training when the high number guys come up that they're swinging at the first pitch. But it's more of a critical issue for guys like Bradford and Altavilla and Lawrence, the guys that are battling for the last spot in the last couple spots in the bullpen. Those guys are performance driven. They are going head to head, and numbers do matter.
Well, Leake, who throws strikes, works quickly out on the mound right now as we go to Peoria and get you set for the Mariners and the Reds. It's Aaron Goldsmith, Mike Blowers with the call. And Ichiro, there he is. Well, actually, he's in the field, but a lot of Ichiro jerseys, I'm guessing, around the complex today, guys.
Boy, Brad, it's good to hear your voice. That's absolutely right. This is almost feels like Ichiro Day here in Peoria. A beautiful day for the most part. The sky is clear. We had some rain in the early parts of this morning. Of course, lots of rain last night as well. But a warm and sunny day as Ichiro is getting loose, and Mike, he made his grand entrance not all that long ago here to the Peoria Sports Complex.
Well, you're right about that, and obviously his first start here this afternoon. It was amazing going into Scott Service's office this morning and how much more crowded it is since he's joined the ball club.
Standing room only, no doubt about that. Plenty of Ichiro signs and jerseys and everything else here around the ballpark today as the Mariners getting set to play the Cincinnati Reds for the second time in as many days. A little bit of a different looking lineup for the Reds and manager Brian Price this afternoon. Mariners beat Cincinnati and Goodyear last night. As Mike Leake gets set, comes home with the first pitch, and it's a strike to Billy Hamilton.
Heard Bill Kruger talking about building up his arm strength, extending himself a little bit more today. Scott Service saying this morning that Leake would probably go 5 innings today, but if he's real efficient, maybe a little more than that. So the starter's starting to get a little bit deeper into the ball games here in spring, about halfway through the spring.
Fourth start for Leake here in the Cactus League. A guy who was unrecognizable when he showed up to spring training after the haircut, as we take a look at Scott Service. 2-2 on Hamilton. Leaks 2-2. Ground ball through the right side. Hamilton always a threat to steal aboard. I talked about when Ichiro made his grand arrival here inside the Peoria Sports Complex. Chance to, of course, catch up with some old friends. Felix trying to show him how it's done, Mike.
Yeah, having some fun with him. I'm sure that Felix can hear all the fans yelling his name, and he wants him to tip his hat.
Cano, a guest instructor as well. Eugenio Suarez digs in for the Reds, looks at strike one. We saw Suarez for a brief time during his American League career with the Tigers, now with the Reds. Vogelbach holding Hamilton at first. Shot through the left side. Segura can't get there. Hamilton into second base. Back-to-back singles to begin the ball game for Cincinnati. And brings up Joey Votto. We've talked to Jerry Dipoto about both offense and defense statistics in spring training, and the one thing that Jerry said to us, of course Jerry's so deep into the numbers, one thing he really looks at are walks in spring training. That even in Arizona, with the way the ball flies, the atmosphere does not affect ball 4 down here. Something he really keeps his eye on. Speaking of a guy who can draw a walk or two, Joey Votto.
A couple of walks in last night's ball game. I think the one thing I would say that I think that the walks, though, could probably catch up, or will probably catch up to younger pitchers because of the way the ball flies down here, and you're constantly in trouble. It seems as if you're a pitcher, they might start nibbling a little bit more than maybe they would in the regular season.
Leake ahead 0-2 to Votto. We saw in last night's game, Votto twice in 2 separate at-bats was complaining about a strike call that he thought was a ball. In one case, he thought it would be ball 4. So Votto not approaching this like it's spring training.
I think both times it was on 3-0 counts, too.
Quick one, hopper belt high to Romine on the first base.
Five, 6-3. This is something that you and I have talked about from time to time. It looked to me as if Votto was trying to hit the ball the other way, take advantage of that hole, and not an easy play by Romine. Kyle Seager getting the afternoon off. And once he was able to catch it, an easy turn.
That brings up Scooter Gennett, cleanup hitting second baseman. I say that a lot. Now it's been strike one to each of the first four hitters for Mike Leake.
That is something he has done all spring.
Leake, of course, the former Red, first-round draft pick by Cincinnati out of Arizona State. Into right center field, Hamilton, who began this ball game singling into right field, comes home to score the first run of the game. Two outs and a man at first base for Adam Duvall. Power hitting left fielder. Another first pitch strike. Now the double play in 3 singles so far in this first inning. Routinely over to right center field. Guillermo Heredia getting the start today in center field for the first time. Makes the one-hand catch in the top of first. We will see Ichiro lead things off. We go to the bottom of the first inning. Reds on top. Off the home first. Reds an early 1-0 lead. Ichiro making his Cactus League debut for the Mariners. Oh, more excitement, more buzz than usual in Cactus League game number 17 today for the Mariners. Ichiro the reason why.
Scott Service this morning saying that he would get a couple of at-bats, possibly 3, depending on how he feels. Aaron, how many days has Ichiro been in camp? Was it about 4?
Yeah, it sounds right.
You know you're a big deal when you've been in camp with a team, just signed with them, and you already have your shoes that match the uniform.
Well, even before that, Mike, when I saw Ichiro arrive at the Mariners' third base dugout, it made me wonder how many times most guys in that dugout have been driven onto the field to the steps of the dugout in a golf cart. That doesn't happen to many guys.
No, it doesn't. It seems typically the manager will do that because they're usually so late getting out here, leaving their office.
This is Brandon Finnegan getting the start today for the Reds. He's ahead, the 1-2. Ichiro, of course, out early doing his famous stretch routine out in left field. Two and two.
How many cameras do you think were outside the player parking lot this morning waiting for him to arrive?
You know, my wife asked me a question when I told her that there had to have been 150. She said, "Do you think that bothers Ichiro?" And I can't think that he loves it, but I had to also think he's probably really used to it now.
I would say he's so used to it he doesn't even notice that they're there anymore. That's been his life basically.
Now D. Gordon, who of course spent time with Ichiro in Miami, was talking to one of his teammates a couple of days ago after the signing was made official, and he was trying to explain how big of a deal Ichiro is globally. And he said, you know, Jordan, bigger than Jordan, which it's hard for any of us who remember the Jordan days to think of anything bigger than Michael Jordan.
Pretty good at bat. Already seen 7 pitches, works the count full.
Strike 3 called. Ichiro thinking he took ball 4.
Just a good fastball, challenges him 3-2. I'm sure he thought this pitch was up and borderline. Certainly didn't like the call. I don't think it's going to take him very long to feel comfortable at the plate, just because of his overall style of hitting. And he's got such great hand-eye coordination. I don't think it's going to take Ichiro long at all.
Here's Segura. Let's look at a drastically different style of hitting, right? Nelson Cruz.
Yes.
So why different for Ichiro than a guy like Nelly?
Well, I think for Nelson, he's obviously trying to do damage every time he goes to the plate, so his swing's a little bit bigger, and he's trying to hit the ball in the air. For Ichiro, that's not necessarily the case, although he has some pop in his bat, but it's just 2 totally different styles. He's looking to get a base hit, find a way to get on, where Nelson's looking to drive himself in, which he does typically 40 times a year, 40 plus. So I think with a little bigger swing, it's more difficult.
You don't think?
Or I should say, it just takes more time to get your timing back.
I don't think Ichiro's going up there thinking launch angle, Mike?
Maybe in certain situations.
Pick your spots.
Pick your spots. You can put it on a show in batting practice, I'll tell you that.
The 3-0. 4-pitch walk to Segura. That brings up Cano. 1 out, 1 on. 1-0 Reds.
And they're going out to the mound.
Trainer leading the way for the Reds. Now Finnegan, his claim to fame, and it's pretty impressive, he was the first player ever to play in the College World Series and the actual World Series in the same year. Got there in college with TCU, was drafted by Kansas City, and the pitch in the World Series for the Royals. Was later traded to Cincinnati, part of the Johnny Cueto deal. They obviously saw something.
Long conversation.
Always amazes me, we've talked about this before, how trainers, coaches, managers get to know the way that these players move just in their everyday motion, that they can spot something instantly that we would never see.
And that's going to be it for him.
Wow. Hopefully nothing too serious for Brandon Finnegan. Big part of the Reds' plans for this season. We'll step aside with 1 out and 1 on. Cano coming up. A pitching change for the Reds. On Root Sports is brought to you by Bill Corum's Puyallup Nissan. Car buying as easy as Sunday morning. And by Steel. To find your local Steel dealer, visit steeldealers.com. Beautiful day here in the desert. Mariners and the Reds. Cincinnati leading 1-0. A very early pitching change for Brian Price, of course, former Mariners pitching coach. Finnegan out after a third of an inning. And Kyle Crockett, who spent time in the Indians bullpen parts of the last 4 seasons, now with the Reds, takes over.
And because of injury, he'll get as much time as he needs. Typically, it's 8 pitches when you come to the ballgame. That will not be the case for him. So when he says he's ready is when we'll start the game up again.
Now Finnegan faced Ichiro, that 8-pitch at bat, which ended on Ichiro striking out, looking on a borderline pitch that Ichiro thought was high. And then Finnegan a 4-pitch walk to Segura. Then the training staff comes out, pulls Finnegan, brings on Kyle Crockett.
4 pitches to Segura, all of them up and away from him. So couldn't tell if there was a leg issue with him or if there was a problem with his elbow or shoulder. But hopefully, as you mentioned, Aaron, that's something that isn't serious, and they're able to get him out of there before he hurt himself. As long as the conversation was going on, I would guess that he was trying to talk his way into staying in the ball game. But in spring training, they're just not going to take any chances.
Mariners a night game last night, day game here today. We've had some questionable weather here in Peoria, and not just in Peoria, throughout the entire valley. But as you can see, things have warmed up. They've cleared up as well. Day game today for the Mariners, back under the lights tomorrow. Marco Gonzalez will get the ball for the Mariners tomorrow. Guy who's been pitching very well so far in spring training. He's
pitched great so far in the spring, and the Mariners really need him to pitch well, especially when they're not sure when Ramirez is going to be back. It sounded from what Scott Service was saying in his office this morning that Ramirez possibly start throwing at the end of spring training. Now, they're not going to need a 5th starter until the 14th of April. He also said that. So they have some time, but I don't think that's enough time for him to get ready. You know, one of the things that'll be interesting is this is kind of a tough week, I think, for the guys when you look at the schedule. And you mentioned night game last night, day game today. They're going to do that all week. So that makes it difficult. Back and forth? Yeah, the back and forth part of it. So that makes it difficult.
And Tuesday will be a day game. That'll be at Salt River Field against the Rockies. Kyle Crockett warmed up and ready to go now. He inherits a runner. That's Segura at first base. A little soft landing for Crockett facing Cano. Might be looking at strike 1.
Robbie having a good spring. First week of spring training, he was hitting the ball the other way up the middle, but a few games starting to turn on the ball, hit a home run.
Had a home run in Scottsdale a couple of days ago that just kind of flicked out to right field. That carried over the bullpen. Hamilton adjusts and makes the catch. And brings up Daniel Vogelback. We talk about Billy Hamilton. He has done what D. Gordon is trying to do right now. Hamilton, an infielder in his minor league days, played up the middle just like D. Gordon. Since coming to the majors, has been in the outfield.
D. Gordon has been really impressive this spring with how quickly he's picked things up and just how fundamentally he does so many things right in the outfield. It takes some of these guys years to get to where he's at right now, but I know he's worked really hard at his outfield play trying to make the transition.
Segura taken off. For the second, Segura beats it by a mile.
And this is something that the Mariners hope to see a lot of. Segura going to hit second in the lineup all year. Gordon's going to lead off. He had 22 stolen bases last year, but also had to deal with some leg injuries that slowed him down.
We'll have a chance to talk to the man at the plate right now, Daniel Vogelbach, later in the broadcast, having a fantastic spring. And this is something that he has mentioned to us already. We'll talk to him more about it today. He has somehow managed to take pressure off of himself when he is fighting for a position, which certainly seems easier said than done. The idea of not focusing on results is something that's pretty easy to say, not always easy to do.
Well, he's hit the ball out of the ballpark. There's a bunch of doubles. He swung the bat well, using the entire field.
The 2-1.
And he's getting an opportunity to play a lot with Healy on the mend. He's trying to take advantage of the playing time that he's getting.
Forward to Vogelbach. Second walk this inning. So Segura got aboard. That brings up Mitch Haniger. Going to bring up Ryan Healy. He's working back from that minor hand surgery. There was a time right around the day where Ichiro signed where Healy was about to experience a pretty big part in his rehab. He was going to be able to actually pick up a bat, swing a bat a little bit. And he was eating breakfast in the lunchroom here at the complex, and Jerry sat down next to him, and Ryan was excited, right? He was going to pick up the bat today. Happened to be the same day that Ichiro was signing. And Ryan looked at Jerry and said, "No, nobody's going to care that I'm picking up a bat today, are they?" Jerry said, "I care, Ryan." Here's Haniger. Made his Cactus League debut last night. Segura dances around and creates a little bit of a distraction to Crockett.
And it's good to see Mitch back in the lineup. It's always tough to have to sit out and not be in the lineup. I think it's especially true for younger players. Veteran understand the situation a little bit better, but the younger players want to be in there, so it's good to have him back in the lineup.
Two on and two out. Mariners down by a run. Now, Haniger had that blistering hot spring last year for the Mariners. Got off to such a great start. Of course, a season in some ways defined by injury to Mitch. Part of the reason why he wears that side plate off the helmet. 1-2. Haniger batting with Vogelbach at first, Segura at second.
Pretty good swings on the fastball. That last fastball at 88 miles an hour. Mitch a couple of weeks behind the rest of the guys, so it might take him a few games before he starts to recognize the breaking ball and off-speed pitches.
Again, the 1-2. Typically, when these guys dig in for the first time in a Cactus League game, Mike, how much live pitching have they seen before they face a pitcher in the Cactus League?
Typically, you've seen probably about 5 to 6 days worth of it against your own guys on the backfields. They're throwing. They usually start off just throwing fastballs with your own pitchers to you, so you can get an idea of that. Then they'll start to mix in the breaking ball. This year is different, though. The guys started, they were only here for 3 days before they were in games. It was something that Scott Brocious was concerned about when I spoke to him at the beginning of camp.
Haniger down on strikes. Mariners strand a couple. Segura and Vogelback, an inning complete. Reds on top. Perfect day to be on the berm. Reds lead the Mariners 1-0 as we start the top of the second. As we get to talk to a guy who is competing for the best man bun in camp with Ben Gamble from time to time, although he's letting it hang right now. Taylor, how you doing, man? It's good to see you.
Oh, I wish I could see you guys, but it's good to hear you guys.
Hey, we see you. You're all over the place on the field, which is no surprise. How is this spring treating you so far?
It's been good. I changed my swing this offseason, so trying to get used to that and trying to drive the ball the other way a little more, but everything's been going good on my end. How about you guys?
Wow, Taylor, it's not. We've never been asked a question in one of these, Taylor. We feel just fine, thank you.
I figure you guys ask all the questions. I might as well ask you some.
So you mentioned driving the ball the other way. We know that the shift was put on against you quite often last year. How hard of a thing is that for you to do?
I was a one-dimensional hitter last year. Pull the ball and see how far I could hit it, and it played terribly into the shift. So, you know, this year if they're going to do that, I'm going to just try and bang the ball the other way.
Taylor, did you always hit that way, or is it because of the position that you're in now, from trying to be a utility guy and being in and out of the lineup and all those different things?
For me, I just want to, when I do have to go in, I want to be as consistent as possible. It's a big thing to work on, being a utility person.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you get that pinch hit or you get to go in and play, you got to be short, quick, easy, repeatable swings to last in this league.
You know, Taylor, last year you were one of many new guys for the Mariners. Last couple of years has been a lot of new guys in camp for the Mariners. This year it's kind of leveled out. It was more of a quiet offseason. How has that affected just kind of how you guys go about your daily business when there aren't as many name tags being worn in the clubhouse?
You know, I mean, it was quiet, but I mean, we just got Ichiro, so it kind of flattened up a little bit in here. But it's been good. You know, we got the same faces out here, guys we're used to. We got a new guy, Romine, really good player. We got D, obviously, really good player too, and Ichiro. I mean, we went and did what we needed to do this offseason to compete.
Taylor, what's the best part of spring training? What do you like the most about spring training?
Oh, man, there's so many things to like, I guess, right?
Yeah, I agree.
No, I think it's nice to sit back. You get to watch some of these new guys play and what they're good at, what they're not good at. And just being with everybody that's in camp. You know, it's not just 25 guys. There's 60 plus when we start. You get to meet everybody. You get to meet everybody and see who you connect with, and it's really nice.
You are a player, Taylor, who has spent time both in the Grapefruit League and now in the Cactus League, of course. Can you compare and contrast what it's like playing in Florida versus playing in Arizona?
You know, we were talking about the other day with Romine, actually. Me and Romine were talking about it. He was with Detroit for a while. And, you know, it's better to hit here. It's easier to hit here. The days, I feel, are a little bit longer here than they were in Florida. You know, you show up for a bus ride 6 a.m., you get right on the bus, take a 3-hour nap to go to where you're going to play, show up, hit BP on the field, and you're done. But here, you know, you still got workouts in the morning, and then you go to the game, and by the time the game's over, 4 o'clock, you're getting home. So it has its give and takes. You know, the travel's better. So I think I like Arizona a little bit better, but I thought Fifi just threw something at me there.
He would never. 2 on now. I mean, players I've talked to in the past who've played in both leagues have said kind of what you're saying, that there's actually more time to get work in the Cactus League because you're not spending as much time on a bus, quite simply.
Yeah, you get more work in here. I think you get more rest in the Florida League because you're sleeping on the bus. You get to relax. But yeah, you definitely get on a field every day consistently here.
Well, Scott Service on his way out to the mound. I'm not sure what happened, but
Well, Taylor, we're going to attend to what's going on here, but it's good to catch up with you a little bit, Taylor.
Yeah,
as
thanks,
always.
Guys.
Good luck the rest of the way.
We'll be seeing you shortly, I'm sure.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
It's Robbie. So it's not Mike Luke, the pitcher. It's Robinson Cano. The ball was hit sharply past him, and I'm wondering if maybe his first step, he did something. Obviously, he's not comfortable. He's somebody that never comes out of the lineup.
So he's in the point of the shift on the right.
Right. Didn't see anything.
We will find out later.
Danny Munoz going to take over at second base for him. As soon as we hear something, we'll let you know.
Now 2 on and 1 out for the Reds here in the second. Ben Revere, the hitter now. We saw him last year with the Angels. Mike, you and I were both on the Caravan for certain parts of the time with Taylor.
Yes.
It's safe to say that Taylor was a Caravan star.
I would say so, yes. It's a pretty good group. Mike Margema.
Mike was fantastic.
He was, yeah.
Now Margema, as you saw, had the inside the park 3-run homer in last night's game against the Reds. And I saw Mike around the complex today, and I said, "Hey, Mike, that was awesome. That was great. You're really running." He just looked at me and goes, "God-given."
Great answer.
I thought it was perfect. Revere skies this out to right field. Haniger settles underneath it. Meanwhile, Peraza advances into third base. 2 outs now. Runners on the corners. It was almost as like I was not the first to compliment him on his running ability of the inside the park home run, and he'd had a couple of times to practice that response because he nailed it. Mike, a very athletic catcher, longtime infielder in the minor leagues at third base.
I think the last Mariner catcher with an inside the park home run was Dan Wilson. So
been a while.
Been a while.
Dan has to have the only inside the park grand slam regardless of position in Mariners history, right?
I think that's correct.
One ball and 1 strike to Hamilton.
And I think Dan actually has a couple of inside the park home runs.
He's got a pair of them.
Yeah.
An interesting thing about Hamilton, we were talking about some similarities with him and D. Gordon making the change from the infield to the outfield. Hamilton, Mike, has never had fewer than 56 steals in a full season of the majors, and he has never led the National League.
That is surprising.
I think you can blame D. Gordon in part in some seasons for that. Ball finds a new guy. Danny Muno picks it up, throws to first base, and that ends the top of the second. A couple left for the Reds. They lead.
Mariners spring training. Be there from the start on Root Sports.
Well, we do not know exactly why, but Robinson Cano done for the day, taken out of the game. Robbie making his way back to the clubhouse. Carrying Felix's bag, it looks like. We will find out more, no doubt, on Robbie a little bit later. When we know something, we'll pass it along. Mike Ford, Rule 5 draft pick for the Mariners, leads things off. He DHs today. Vogelback getting the start at first.
Mike should be comfortable today against the left-hander. He's seen a lot of lefties this spring.
For a guy fighting for a spot, I'm sure he'd like to see a right-hander now and then.
Yeah, he probably would. I would agree with that. It'll make his job a little bit easier.
Hard hit, smoked, right field, sinking, and a spectacular catch made by Ben Revere.
I don't know that you can hit a baseball any harder than that. A little breaking ball ended up in the middle of the place, maybe inner half. With the barrel to it. Take a look at his swing. Solid line drive. Pretty good reaction by Rivera in right field.
One hard out. Here's Zunino. How big it must be for Mike to come to camp this year having figured out what he did last year, particularly with his stance and his overall approach.
Yeah, it's something. I talked to Scott Brocious about it, and he thought so too. The main thing is when he has his struggles, he has a couple of keys that he can go to fix it, as opposed to overhauling an entire swing and an approach, which is what he had to do last year mid-season. Not an easy thing to do, but it ended up paying off for him with his 25 home runs.
2-1 count now. And for Mike, really coming off a season with probably the longest prolonged stretch of success and confidence that he's had in his career. Finishes one of the best offensive catchers in the league.
I think confidence is the biggest part of that. He's tried a number of different things, and this new stance of his, it's a little more narrow. You're going to see the big leg kick. His hands are high. Edgar Martinez watching. And I think the fact that when he was recalled to the big league club, he went out and played well right away and started to hit for power. And I think he gained some confidence from what he was doing. Because he validated that it was the right thing for him. Hopefully that makes things a little bit easier for him this year at the start of the season.
You know, as we see him take ball forward, this was something we saw Mike do a number of times last year. Not only draw a walk, but draw multiple walks in a game, which seemed like it was a pretty noteworthy step for Mike. Not that you don't want to see him do the damage that we know he can do, but the discipline to not chase.
Yeah, well, if you don't have confidence in your mechanics and what you're doing, sometimes I think you start to think so much about your swing or your stride or where you're standing, where your hands are at, that the ball, it gets on you in a hurry. It's like the last thing that you remember is I have to actually see the baseball and throw. You laugh, but I've been there. I can tell you it's a difficult thing. And I think because he was able to iron the mechanics out, he started to recognize pitches a little bit earlier, and it kept him from chasing pitches out of the strike zone.
Our Mike behind home getting a workout so far today. 0-2 on Heredia. I guess everybody wants to have it be as simple as possible once they get up there.
You have to. You have to, but so many times if you don't have confidence in what you're doing, then it makes it more difficult.
Off the hands. And easy out number 2. Scooter Gennett is there to find it. Brings up Andrew Romine. Master utility man getting the start today at third base.
I think I figured it out for you, Aaron. You're wanting so badly to step in a batter's box just to see what it's like one time.
Oh, obviously.
Yeah, I think maybe we put you in there with a pitching machine, crank it up to about 80, 85, just so you can get a look at that, see what you think.
This gets past the catcher, Barnhart. See, that's the thing. You know, we talk all the time. We use these extreme situations like, hey, Goldie, why don't you go face Paxton? Get in there against Diaz, right? What I would actually rather do that, because everyone knows I have no chance, than go in there against the 50-mile-an-hour machine where mortals actually have a chance and look like as equal of a buffoon against the 50-mile-an-hour pitching machine.
Oh, I don't want you to try to actually hit it. I just want you to stand in there to see what it's like.
GoPros strapped all over the place, including the one hanging over the front of my face, because I'm not going to see the ball anyway, so you might as well see what my face looks like.
I would say out of the pitching machine at 80 miles an hour, you would have a hard time seeing it. Yes.
I'm sure I would.
Yeah.
2 balls and a strike on Romine. Tie and run now in scoring position for the Mariners. That's Zunino. Hard hit right side and through. Zunino pounds the bag at third, coming home. Here's the throw from Revere, well up the line, and the Mariners have tied this game up thanks to Andrew Romine.
Just having a good spring. That continues. Picks up an RBI. It looked like Rivera slipped a little bit in right field. I thought maybe he was going to have a play on Mike. With 2 outs, Scott Brocious, new third base coach, decided to send him right away because of the 2 outs. And Rivera, when he tried to make the throw, looks as if he slipped. Almost spiked it. The Mariners will take the run.
Second time up for Ichiro now. Struck out looking on what was an 8-pitch at bat, and a pitch that he thought should have been ball 4, a little up in the zone. There goes Romine. For the second. The Mariners get their second stolen base of the game. Now we have received word from the Mariners clubhouse on Robinson Cano leaving the game early because of left hamstring tightness. A word on Robbie. Ichiro ahead 2-1 now. Ichiro making his Mariners debut today. Side, but right in line with Adam Duvall to make the catch. Out number 3 to end the inning. A run does score for the Mariners, driven in by Romine, and through 2 we're tied. At 1 with the Reds, joined by one of our favorites, new Mariners first base coach Chris Prieto. Chris, it's good to see you, man. How are things?
Very good. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Hey, they're letting you outside of the windowless room this year. I mean, you're actually being exposed to daylight. You're on the field.
Putting a uniform on, getting
everything.
on the field, smelling the leather again. It's awesome.
I mean, in all seriousness, this is a really cool step for you. Now the first base coach for the Mariners. We know that your previous job title, you were the guy back in the clubhouse. You were the replay review master, the czar for the Mariners in that capacity. What's it like for you to make the transition to now be out here and be in the mix all day long as opposed to just in the first half of the day?
I mean, just talking base running again and outfield and just working with the players and coaching again has been really cool. I enjoyed doing the replay. I learned a lot from doing that. I wouldn't say I was a master at it, but I definitely enjoyed that part of the game, watching the game on TV, but I really feel great being back on the field.
Well, you mentioned the base running, a couple of stolen bases so far today.
Yeah, it's been fun. You know, you talk the game, give them times of the plate, let them know little cues that the guy might be doing, and they're taking advantage of it.
I have to ask you, because it's been, in my mind, just remarkable how well D. Gordon has done in center field and how natural he looks out there. And even a lot of the fundamental things that he has done correct. It's been a lot of fun to watch, and I know that you've put in a lot of work with him, too.
Well, the beauty is, you know, he's a pro. I mean, he comes to the field every day and genuinely wants to get better. And that's what it takes to be a great player, and he has that part of his game. So he's been great to work with. He asks a lot of questions, and it's just been fun to watch him play.
Just a couple of things. It seems to me, obviously, he's a tremendous athlete, and to watch him run a ball down in the gap is no surprise to me there because of how athletic he is. But people are talking about his throwing arm, a couple of assists so far in spring, but one, he was actually backing up second base the way he was supposed to. That's the reason why he was able to cut the runner down at third. And then in last night's game, I was really impressed with the way that he was able to stay behind that fly ball and run through it as he was making his throw to home. Those are things that some outfielders, they do this for years and can't do that.
Yeah, that's been the exciting part for me, is those little things we've worked on, we've talked about, we do it daily, and to see him just, you mentioned it, he's such a great athlete, it just comes natural to him, but just to see him do those little things puts a smile on my face, and it's going to be contagious for the rest of the core.
How about your newest outfielder? Have Zichiro taught you any stretches so far, Chris?
Yeah, it's that might be one ground ball I might want to field when he hits it foul ball to me. So, yeah, it's pretty special to be able to coach him, and you know, I enjoyed watching him play when he was younger with Seattle, and he's been great so far. I mean, he's like just another player. He's like, you know, coach me, tell me what I got to do, and he's awesome.
You know, to jump back to D for just a moment, when we spoke to you over the winter time, as home plate umpire is being looked at here for a moment, looks like everything is okay. You know, we talked about, you brought up this point, which I'd never thought of, the idea that D, over the course of 162 games, is used to running out to second base. Right now, he's going to be running out to center field every time. And I mean, you actually mentioned that there is a certain wear and tear on your legs that piles up over the course of 162.
No doubt. Not even playing the game, just running on and off the field is a big difference for him. He's not used to it, and if you've watched him so far, he's actually kind of taken advantage of that. He's you know, jogging out and kind of walking back all the way to the dugout, and that's what we want from him. So it's not lack of hustle, it's not lack of, you know, the energy that he needs to have. It's because we're telling him to do it, and we're trying to save his legs for the season, so that maybe next season, you know, he can do what he wants at that point. But right now, we want him to get used to it. So,
hey, Chris, one of the things that we heard at the end of last year and even spring training, in fact, Jerry DiPoto brought it up, but the team struggled last year running the bases, and it's not about how fast you are or you're not, but just the amount of guys that were getting thrown at, trying to do too much maybe at times. What can you work on when you get into the games down here to make that a better situation for the guys?
Well, I mean, one thing we want to do is just kind of create an identity of who we are, and kind of bring it every day, every pitch. Really, what you do in between pitches is huge. You know what I mean? Like just the alertness level and paying attention to little detail things, and just heighten the awareness of base running. And we've started talking about it, and it's become everyday talk. And so that's what we've liked to see through all the players, and it's been good so far.
Now, Chris, last year, one of the big storylines in camp were the morning meetings. And I know you broke out the piano last year in the morning meetings. Is there going to be we're going to see that again this year? Has it already happened?
We actually talked about it yesterday morning. I don't think it's going to happen. I know Skip asked if somebody else played an instrument, and you could hear a pin drop because nobody wanted to play. But yeah, I mean, I would play. I don't think a lot of people like my taste of music, to be honest with you. It's more of a classical, you know, movie theme type piano style, you know what I mean? So
you're looking like a John Williams guy?
I kind of put some of them to sleep. So, but yeah, I enjoy it. It keeps me relaxed, and it's just a good hobby of mine other than spending time with my kids.
So is this, are you big into movie scores? Is that what you're saying?
I am actually. I enjoy watching a movie that has a really good movie score. Those can move you. You know, you can kind of get on that emotional ride with a movie. So I actually do enjoy that kind of a movie.
Well, give us your top 2 or 3.
Rudy's a great movie. I really enjoyed that.
Now we're talking the music here, not the actual movie itself. Is Votto crosses home?
Yeah. I mean, as far as what movies?
I'm talking movie scores.
I like the movie score from Rudy.
Okay,
the
just want to make
Rudy.
sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you know, I like all those theatrical. You know, Star Wars. Williams is the guy that I really liked.
Like Randy Newman? We big Randy Newman guy?
I mean, I enjoy all of them. Yeah, I'm not going to pick and choose who I like more than the others, but yeah, it's something I enjoy.
Well, the whole point of this is to put you on the spot, Chris.
Yeah, you are putting me on the spot.
That's the whole point. Did you think when you woke up this morning this is what we'd be talking about?
No, but I do like Rudy. That's when I really first started liking the movie score type movies. So
I feel like there's nothing else to cover, Mike. I think we've covered it all.
I think that you have. I'll tell you this, though, Chris. It's great to see you in uniform on the field. I know that that's something that you've wanted to do, and I know that you absolutely now you probably have to put in a lot more work with these guys, don't you, on the field in the mornings and doing certain things with your responsibilities now.
Yeah. So I mean, one thing I haven't really done down here is spend a lot of time in the cage. That's something I'm going to do during the season. Is you know, spend some more time in the cage, flipping to those guys. But just because we've been doing a lot of base running stuff, a lot of the outfield stuff. Yeah, I'm going to do that base running. We'll do some bunting, just the little stuff. And it's been great that, you know, Jerry and Skip and they believe in me and have faith that I can coach these guys. So,
you know, I'm curious though, Chris, before we let you go, Anthony Suzuki is now taking over your role as the replay coordinator. What's the hardest part of that job?
Learning the keys. So it's like playing a video game. You got to learn where all the buttons are, and you just. The speed of the game sometimes can get to you. It's 30 seconds. It moves pretty quick. So you just got to get used to the keys, and then the rest will take care of itself. But early on, he's going to have a little bit of trouble just kind of getting his fingers right on the keyboard. And, you know, you make one wrong turn, it's like it's like forever that you get back to where you need to be. So I think he'll do great at it, though. He's a hard worker, and he cares about being good at it. And he's already spent a lot of time working at Safeco on it.
Hey, how many steak dinners did you buy Mike for all the times that he saw something in a replay, set it on the telecast, and then you picked up on it and said, hey, Skip, I found something?
You know, it's funny. I mean, I'll go back to that because you guys do help in a lot of ways. You'll say something that I don't catch, an umpire making an out call versus a safe call. Sometimes I don't see that, and that kind of puts me in a different mode. So it is helpful when you guys communicate and talk. So.
Hey, Chris, you're the best, man. Thanks for spending some time with us.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Mariners first base coach, outfield coach as well, Chris Prieto, as the Reds have taken the lead. 2018 Mariners Kids Club MVP memberships are only $25 and include a Mariners backpack, a cap, $1 ticket vouchers, plus exclusive MVP experiences, including autograph sessions and batting practice viewings. You can register today by simply going to mariners.com/kids. Jared Hughes, the new pitcher for the Reds. Segura leads it off and looks at strike one. Man, we love Chris Prieto. What a good dude and a fun guy to have on the broadcast. Kind enough to give us some time and let us ask him the most pressing movie score questions imaginable.
I can tell you, his first year in that job with the replay, it was stressful for him.
I bet.
I can remember many times when we were on the road, he typically on the bus, he would sit right in front of where I was sitting, and he would turn around eventually and ask me about certain plays and things that went on. When you consider all the things that he had to do as far as the mechanics of it, solid base hit for Segura, the mechanics of it all, and then you actually have to make those decisions right away is a pretty difficult thing. And I'm sure there are a few times when maybe Scott wasn't real happy with the process early on. He became an expert at it. But that was pretty stressful for him. And I know he's wanted to be on the field, and so it's great. I'm happy for him.
Here's Danny Muno batting for Cano, who left with left hamstring tightness. You know, the other thing, too, and we've talked to Chris about this in the past, and now Anthony will go through this, is that this isn't like going to the same office every day to do your job. When you're on the road, some clubhouses, visiting clubhouses where the Mariners are large and spacious and have a great setup for the replay review coordinator. And then others, I mean, think about Fenway Park,
right?
Or when the Mariners went to Wrigley, where the clubhouses are, you know, the size of an airplane laboratory. And then all of a sudden things are crammed. It's a different setup. It's not the same everywhere you go. You have to get used to that very quickly.
And it's an important job for the club. So, you know, for him though, I know that, you know, he's a baseball guy all the way around, so he wants to put the uniform on. You can tell he's happy about that. He put his time in that little room that you're talking about, and now he gets to see the sunshine.
1 strike to Muno.
Funny too, because I didn't at first, I didn't think about doing the game and saying certain things or whatever if I pick it up, you know, because you have so many different things that we're doing up in the booth too. But as time went on, the more that we would talk about it, as I'm watching things, I almost felt like I was talking to him.
Your secret code language.
Well,
with Chris?
I remember one time that he after the game he thanked me for it because he didn't catch it. And you're not going to catch everything. You're going to miss some things. And the TV camera was more on where the ball was in the outfield. And I watched the runner, and he passed second base and didn't retouch second base. But there was you couldn't see it. So I said something about it, and then he was able to go back and find that part of it.
I always found it odd when you kept saying Chris during all these replays. No, it's Mike. It's Aaron. I don't know what's going on.
Last year, I didn't have to say much. Like I said, he was an expert at it, and he was on top of it all the time. So.
And spent plenty of time with D. Gordon in the outfield before guys even came down here to Arizona. The 3-1. Segura will have to make his way back to first.
If you missed it, Cano started the game at second base but had to leave because his left hamstring, some tightness. Hopefully it isn't anything serious, and he was able to catch it. He seemed to be walking okay when he left the field.
Still full.
CIN is getting a workout this afternoon. He stole
so.
a base. He walked and stole a base his first time up. A couple of foul balls have sent him back to first this time.
Cued. Safe. trying to make the play at third.
We'll take a look at it. You can see Segura on the move. Had it in the end of his glove and then just dropped it. Going to give him an error. E5. In a good situation for the Mariners. Couple runners on, nobody out.
Chance here for Vogelback. Daniel telling us the other day that during the course of the offseason really made a change in his approach at the plate, and he no longer wants to be seen as the guy who can simply get on base, have a good eye for the zone, hit to all fields. He really wants to be a power guy, really wants to be able to drive in runs.
Well, there's a couple things. He's already hit a couple of home runs. He has 5 doubles and 20 at bats. He only has 1 strikeout. So he still has a pretty good eye, but the thing that I've noticed, and I talked to Scott Brocious about it the other day, is he's being much more aggressive at the plate. He's not taking as many pitches.
Another thing he referenced he wanted to do. Gets ahead here, 3-0. It would be great after I made that statement if you were to walk on 4 pitches here.
Well, it's still going to make him throw strikes. It's just not going to take as many strikes.
Mariners have the tying run. That's Segura at second base. Muno is at first. Three and one. The pitcher Hughes. Throw to first in time. Jeanette able to play the carom. Segura into third base. Muno to second, 1 out.
We'll take another look at it. Hit it hard right back up the middle. I think it would have been a base hit. It definitely would have been a base hit. Good situation for Haniger to drive in a run. Again, for Mitch, this is just his second game. His first game was last night.
In his first year at the Mariners, Mike, did you get a sense, or what sense did you get, I should say, of what kind of hitter Mitch Haniger is? Because we know he's got power.
Yeah. I think for me watching him, he has some power, but I think that he really stays in the gaps, left center, right center. I don't think he's, because he has some pop, I don't think he's too concerned about having to pull the ball. The thing that he talks about is just getting the barrel to the baseball, and then what happens after that is out of his control. Nobody better than that guy right there, Edgar Martinez. But I think for me, I think he wants to be a good hitter first before you start talking about the power. And I think the power is just something that he has in there. And you're going to see it, but it's not something that he's going to force the issue. I think he'd rather just find a way to get the barrel to the ball. And he has a pretty good idea of the strike zone.
And then maybe over the course of a full healthy season, 20 times some of those doubles will leave the ballpark.
I think so. Yeah, I really do. I think that when he's around long, he'll get to know the pitchers a little bit better too, and so he'll start taking advantage of some tendencies and things that they're trying to do. And then he'll be able to hit the ball out of the ballpark. But to me, he's just a good, solid hitter all the way around, even from his setup, as you're looking at right there. It's fairly simple. There's not a lot to it. And, the main thing is to keep him healthy. Let him go out there 145, 150 games this year and see what happens. I think you'll like his numbers at the end of the year if he's able to do that.
Reaching for it, down on strikes.
That's the hardest part. Again, he hasn't been playing. Last night was his first game, and it's just difficult to recognize the breaking ball your first 2, 3, 4 games. And you're still trying to figure out the timing on the fastball. You can see they want that pitch down out of the strike zone. Pretty good pitch overall, just off the outside corner. But probably another 2 or 3 games, he'll start to pick that up, pick the spin up a little bit better than he's able to here in the early going.
2 outs, 2 in scoring position. Mariners down a run. And steps Mike Ford.
Mike hit the ball hard his first time up. Line drive. Revere, the right fielder, made a diving catch, take a hit away from him. Struggled a little bit first 4 or 5 games in camp, but has picked it up since then.
You mentioned the breaking ball for a guy like Haniger. Obviously, you can set the machines to spin you breaking balls in the cage, but it can't be the same thing, right?
It helps. No, it helps a little bit, but you know the machine is throwing you that breaking ball every pitch
because you told it to.
Exactly. So you know what I mean. So you start to train your eyes on seeing the spin of it. But once you get into the game and a guy is throwing a fastball and a splitter, a changeup to go with it, a curve and a slider, that makes it more difficult. And I think for him right now, he's just trying to get his timing on the fastball. Hughes today is throwing 92 miles an hour. You don't simulate that in batting practice. And so once he gets to that point where if you feel like as a hitter you can handle the fastball, then the rest of it starts to come together for you. And unfortunately for him, typically at the beginning of spring training, most pitchers are throwing nothing but fastballs because they're trying to build up their arm strength and then learn to locate the fastball again. And now you're midway through it, so you're starting to see him put a wrinkle, maybe a changeup to go along with it. So it's a little more, I think, difficult for Mitch at this point. Early in spring, he would have been able to get on the fastball earlier and see a lot of them. But he'll get there.
Ford gets aboard. 2 out of walk, and the base is loaded. A chance for Mike Zunino to do some damage. Michael Wacha, a run scored back in the second. So bring a visit out to the mound. This makes me think of Edgar going down to the minor league side and getting 9 at-bats in a day.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that Mitch eventually is going to do. I think right now you're going to limit him a little bit. Coming back from the injury, you don't want to overwork him and then he gets a setback from it. But when he feels comfortable and things going on, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he goes down there. And the beauty of going to the minor league games is he can lead off every inning. So he can go down there and get 6, 7, 8 at-bats if he wants to off of live pitching in a game. But you're right, Edgar used to do that all the time. I think Edgar, he wanted at the end of spring training, regardless of what it said, as far as the stats go, he wanted to have 100 at-bats, and obviously they're not going to count the at-bats that he's getting down in the minor leagues. But he wanted to see as much pitching as he possibly could.
Bags packed for Zunino.
Mike Wacha scored his first time up.
Oh, 2. Now the tying run for the Mariners at third base, that's Segura. Uno the man at second. Ford just drew the walk at first base. Broken bat and a foul ball.
One of the other things that you'll see in spring training from time to time is when the pitchers in the mornings are out and they're throwing their bullpens, you'll see a hitter stand in there. And most of the time, they're not obviously having any intentions of swinging at anything, but they're in there just to try to train their eyes, slow the game down, pick up spin. And they know what's coming on every pitch. So you'll see some guys do that from time to time also.
Mike with a new bat, behind on the count, 0-2. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Inside. I think bottom line, whenever we talk about this, this seems like such a personal thing for each hitter. How many at-bats you want, how many pitches you want to see.
And it's different year to year. It really is. So, and the good thing, though, is that's what this is for, spring training. You can talk to coaches and the manager if you need more game time. That's a solid base hit tonight. Good at bat.
Segura down the line to tie. Right behind him, Danny Muno. And Zunino has given the Mariners the lead here in the third.
Just a good at bat. Like falling behind 0-2, count 1-2. So 2-strike hitting, didn't overswing, had a pitch he could handle. He drives it right back up the middle. One of the areas that he improved on last year. That's why his average was up around 250. Go along with the great power numbers.
Two outs and 2 on for Heredia. Mariners by a run now. Now, Heredia just started playing in the outfield and today gets his first start in center field. Scott saying a couple of days ago that when D. Gordon needs a breather in center, that Heredia would be the most likely candidate to fill his spot in the middle of the outfield. Suarez charging, hip high on the run to end the inning. Couple of men left stranded, but the Mariners get 2 runs on one swing by Mike Zunino, and through 3, Mariners now on top.
Where you're rooting from today. A hashtag where I root. Using the hashtag gives us permission to use your photos on the air. Christian starting them young. Watching Cano at the dish. This was, of course, before Cano went out with that slight hamstring pull in the left hammy as he gets back top of 4. Mike leaks so fast, guys. We only had time for one where I root. We'll try to get you some more later on.
And it works quickly. We know that. Thank you, Brad. Facing Jose Peraza to lead off the 4th inning. Mariners now lead it 3-2. Zunino has scored a run and driven in 2 today for the Mariners. 2-1. Of course, Leake pitched his college ball not far from here at all in Tempe at Arizona State. And something that still I can't wrap my mind around, a guy who did not spend a single day in the minor leagues. This is cued to Vogelback, lined up in the right spot. Long flip. It's there in time for round number 1. Now, Mike, I know when you were drafted, you didn't think that you'd be going to the minor leagues. Like that, this was like a foreign concept to you. The what? No, you know, you saw my numbers at UW, right? I'm not going there.
Not many have signed and gone right to the big leagues, so that's really saying something. Former Mariner John Olerud did it out of Washington State. And even then, I think, if I remember, it was one of those things where they weren't sure if he was going to hit or pitch.
The great two-way players, really probably in college baseball history.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But it's not many have been able to do that.
Barnhart chops his pitch foul.
We were talking about it earlier with Finnegan having pitched in the College World Series and then was in the World Series in the same year.
Right.
I thought it was pretty impressive. Ron Fairley, our good friend Ron Fairley, has written a book, and I was reading his book, and I didn't realize it, but Ron went to USC, went to the College World Series, and then the following year, at 19 years old, he was in the World Series with the Dodgers.
He was also recruited by John Wooden and UCLA.
Yeah.
The only player in baseball history to be an all-star for both Canadian teams.
Yeah.
His lone 2 all-star seasons. This is blasted to center. Heredia fighting the sun, and no surprise, man, he catches everything. Out number 2. Well, get on board for the 2018 season as a Mariners season ticket holder, whether looking to spend quality time with family and friends or have more face time with your employees and clients. Mariners season tickets provide unmatched value and versatility. Just visit mariners.com/18 for more information.
There's another one with Ron also, I think. And you probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Ron is one of three players, 1,000 games in the infield. Innings in the outfield also. Robin Yount was one of them.
Now, are you setting me up? You're setting me up. You are. I'm not.
Trying to think of who the other one was.
You're setting me up. That's dirty blow. I saw. And now to give you some credit, it took me a good 15 seconds. But his name rhymes with Musial. Into right field. Drops in for a base hit. Haniger plays it on a bounce. Revere aboard. That's with 2 outs. I'm impressed though, Mike. You're showing me something. You're ready for the regular season. Here's Billy Hamilton. Oh, 2. Keeping an eye on Revere at first base. There goes Hamilton. This is chopped to Muno from right field. Revere, I beg your pardon, left stranded. That ends the top of the 4th. We go to the home half. We'll be seeing Ichiro coming up. 4th inning. Well, the man, the myth, the Robinson. Saturday, March 31st is Robinson Cano Bobblehead Day, presented by Root Sports. The first 20,000 fans will receive their own replica collectible of the reigning All-Star Game MVP. For tickets, just check out Mariners.com. Mike, we have to go back and correct a failure on my part regarding the Ron Fairley. You were right. It was games, innings. It was a foolish mistake on my behalf.
It happens.
It is spring training. Here is Kevin Shackelford. And for those in the dark, and it's probably many of you, to clear it up, Mike was baiting me into saying the name of Stan Musial, because occasionally I try to reference his name when it applies to a Mariners broadcast.
Every opportunity.
Here's Romine.
Or those harmonica lessons going anyway.
You know, I had the red blazer on earlier, but it just got too warm today. You understand?
I do. I was talking about this the other day, especially this year is a little bit different because there are so many night games in spring training this year. But after one of the games, I was walking through the parking lot, and you see a number of the guys who probably are going to have to work out after the game with their families. They have kids, and so they're sending them on their way so you get a chance to see them. The other day I saw Kyle Seager had his family over on one of the fields, and you have your family here. We have Jackson here in the booth with us today.
He's in the booth. We have I've tried to unwire the spare headset. He as Ichiro digs in here, he came up to me this morning. He said, "Dad, I need to talk to you about a couple of players." Now Jackson's 3. He said, "I need you to tell Seager that I'll be there today." And I said, "Who else?" And he said, "Cano." I said, "Who else?" He said, "Cruz." So I've tried to make the rounds today to give those guys a heads up. You know, hey, first of all, can you get in the lineup?
He knows who's in the middle of the lineup.
That's right. He knows who's doing the damage.
Future center fielder.
Very rangy.
A lot of power.
1-1.
Third plate appearance for Ichiro. This is probably going to be it for him. His first day in the lineup. Hit the ball hard his last time up, lined out to the left field.
Just foul. Looked like that might have been hit number 1 of the springtime for Ichiro. Plenty of Ichiro fans in the house.
They were over by the Mariners dugout before the game started, and Ichiro came out of the dugout to get his stretching and running in. Gave them a wave. They were pretty excited about that.
He's been signing his fair share of autographs, as you can imagine. One thing that was interesting talking with Jerry about Ichiro's signing is that conversations with Ichiro's representatives began very early in the offseason. Now, the interest level fluctuated from time to time, but these were conversations that had been going on for months, and of course really started to ramp up after the injury to Gamble. Full count.
Well, because it's going to be a while for Gamble, it sounds like the first month, maybe 2 months, he's going to play a lot. And you have to remember, he basically was pinch hitting last year, but he's going to play left field and play a lot in left field.
It's a piece back to the glove of Barnhart. And there is out number 2. Here's Segura.
Like a breaking ball. Maybe a change up down. A piece of it.
You know, Segura has a what we'll call a powerful lower half.
Yes.
And D. Gordon a few days ago, by one of the cages, put on Segura's jersey and stuffed about a dozen T-shirts down at the back of his pants. And tried to do his best possible Segura body double impression. I don't know how many people he fooled, especially from the waist up, but it was a good attempt on D's part. As we've noticed already, he brings a certain level of humor.
Did Gene see that?
You know, I think Gene was right there. Hamilton tracking this.
Can't see it.
Trying to pick it up. Can't find it on the warning track and over the fence. A ground rule double.
Gives you an idea how difficult the catch was by Heredia.
Right.
Straight at him. This is more towards right center, so there's a little bit of an angle, but you can see right away that he can't pick it up, and it's going to bounce off the warning track.
Billy knows how I felt when we filmed our stand-up this morning, Mike. The annual rite of passage of trying to stare into the sun and look into a camera lens, which you seem to do much better than I do. Ball one to Muno. I mean, if you're D. Gordon, this is the most difficult outfield you'll have to play all season.
Easily. That's why he's been so impressive, I think. The other part about it too, obviously the sun and the high skies, but there's typically a pretty good breeze blowing here also that you have to deal with. So it's not an easy outfield. The outfield is also fast. It's not easy.
It is a beautiful day here in Peoria. Some rain early this morning. Things have cleared now, though. 2 outs and a man at second base. That's Segura. Appealed, he goes. And that ends the inning. Segura stranded at second. We're through 4. Mariners on top. Fifth, as it 0-1 to Suarez. Now we bring in Bill Kruger back from the studio now. And Bill, we've seen Leake now for going on his 5th inning. What have you made so far from Mike Leake, and what is his 4th Cactus League start?
He looks good, free and easy. Seems to be able to do what he wants to do. I think the Reds present a little bit more of a problem today. A few more left-handed hitters with his 3/4 slot. That's going to be a little bit more challenging for him. And just generally, when you're a strike thrower and you're challenging people in the strike zone in spring training, that doesn't always lead to the kind of success that you might have in the regular season when hitters are a little bit more particular about working the count. I'd also say that being a ground ball pitcher, you know, the movement that you get in Arizona is not going to be the same as you get once the regular season starts.
Bill, one of the things that we all talk about it at times, and maybe you can explain it, when you talk about Mike Leake, and this is something that Scott Service has even said about him. One, we've talked about the pace at which he pitches, but he talks about him when he wants to, he can pitch to contact. Now, what does he mean by that?
Well, that used to be the way we were all taught to pitch, trying to challenge people in the strike zone, trying to make the ball come in play sooner, let the athletes make the plays. You know, I'm a real believer in that. I think having starting pitchers that can do that, they're able to get deeper in games. That takes the pressure off your bullpen. And as you well know, Mike, when you have a guy that you can play behind, you can sense where he's trying to go with the baseball, and you know the ball's going to could come to you, and it could come into play. You're just going to anticipate better, make more plays.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. It makes it more fun, that's for sure. And we talked about it a little bit too, as it looks like this might be it for Leake. But the last thing for me is you talked about the way he pitches, how quickly he pitches, and pitching coaches will always say they like that, the infielders like that. So why don't any of you pitchers do it more often?
That's a great question. I think it's about just getting pitchers to try it. Just get the ball and try to get your heart rate going a little quicker, work a little faster, get the sign and go. I think if they could understand how that would help them with their rhythm, and that know the guys behind you will benefit, that everybody should be trying to do that more.
I feel like, Bill, I have to ask you about a pitch clock now. Are you pro pitch clock?
No. I think that's the way that you're trying to artificially change the game. I think is wrong. I'm not a big believer in the pitch clock. I think you know, trying to find ways to speed the game up. The game is slowed down because of all the advertising they have to sell. The game is slowed down by delays for judgment calls and replay. And you know, I would hope that they wouldn't want to change the game dramatically with the pitch clock. I'm not a fan.
I think the other thing too, Bill, and I don't know how you solve the problem because the game is constantly changing, but the other part of it too is you have now just about every club has 8 guys out in the bullpen, and you constantly have these changes throughout the game. That also slows things down.
Yeah, I mean, the sabermetrics, the numbers, the understanding that putting a different face on the mound makes the hitter more challenged because he doesn't get as many looks. But I'm also a believer that the more you use pitchers, the more risk you build into the game. I still think at the end of the day, the game is about winning. Baseball is about 1 starter and maximum 3 relievers. If you're going beyond that, you're not. I don't think you're playing winning baseball. That's just my opinion. But yeah, they're going to play it the way they're going to play it. And you know, maybe with the lack of mound visits, that will help speed the game along. I'm not so sure I have the right answer for that. I think baseball is a game that's timeless, and you got to keep that in mind.
Bill, message received. We're off your lawn. We love you. This is good stuff, Bill. It's always good talking pitching with you.
And I absolutely agree with him. There's no argument from me, that's for sure.
No, that's good stuff. Bill, thank you so much, man. As Chasen Bradford is up on the mound now for the Mariners, taking over for Leake. First pitch by Scooter Gennett is poked into left field. Boy, you know, the idea, Mike, of a starter and 3 relievers, that sounds like a pretty clean game, doesn't it?
It does.
And I get that. I think any manager, if they could have it line up that way, would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, But again, when you go back to the analytics and you start looking and you look at starters and how much the numbers change, trying to get through that lineup the third time, that's been the biggest reason why. And then that's why you have to have the extra relievers that are out there, and you have to have these guys that can go multiple innings at times. It didn't used to be that way either. It's all part of the game right now.
I mean, don't you feel like if Scott every morning could wake up and know that his starter was going to go 7, and that he could have his 8th inning man and his closer come out tidy, 9 innings. There, I mean, that would be the dream for a big league manager.
It would be, and I think if you talk to most managers and throughout the game, if you would tell them out of their 5 starters, they're going to have 2 guys that are going to consistently do that for them, they'll take that.
Sure.
That's how much the game has changed.
1 out, 2 on. You know, one of the interesting storylines, speaking of starting pitching, that has come out of the Grapefruit League. Like the Tampa Bay Rays, Kevin Cash has publicly said that they are going to go with a 4-man rotation, not just to start the year because the off days work out that way. They're going to try to go the whole season with a 4-man rotation and have a bullpen with a group of guys who can work multiple innings. And I get the sense more than just a couple of innings. And that when that 5th day arises, they'll go with the freshest arm of that core, or they'll simply go bullpen day, or they'll bring up a guy from the minor leagues. This is something they're going to try to do, and this is very much like the Rays, to kind of be a little outside the box.
Well, then I would say that he must feel pretty good about the 4 starters that he has, because he's going to have 2 or 3 of them that are going deeper into ball games if he wants to make that something that's going to happen throughout the year. Because if a couple of them stumble and get taken out of the game in the 4th or 5th inning, what are you going to do when that 5th day rolls around and your bullpen has pitched already 2 days in a row?
Especially if the guy, your quote-unquote 4 starter, gets tattooed, goes 3+, and then the next day well, those guys who can go multiple innings have most certainly been used up if it's the exact day before.
Right. It'll be interesting to see what happens, because the one thing that we've heard is people talking about going to a 6-man rotation.
Yeah, so when teams are thinking about adding, the Rays are thinking about subtracting by 1.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. It's fascinating, if nothing else, to stand back and watch it unfold. Who knows? Maybe they'll discover something that none of us would have thought of. Well, I say that, but 50 years ago, they're saying, what are you talking about? This is our everyday, a 4-man rotation. Chuck Taylor, the new left fielder, taking over for Ichiro, makes the catch. Now 2 outs. That brings up Schebler. So Ichiro's day is done. Nearly had a base hit. It went foul by what looked like no more than a foot.
Again, it will not take him long to catch up, get to gain speed.
First pitch, swinging strike. When we're talking starting pitching and rotations, I feel like it is worth noting, Mike, that the Mariners were the last team to use the same 5 starting pitchers for an entire season, which now seems like the punchline of a joke that somebody would be able to do that. That was back in 2003. Haniger closing, able to keep his feet and make the catch. Fine work by Mitch Haniger in right field. A couple of men left stranded. We go to the bottom of the 5th. Mariners have the lead. 3-2 Mariners have the lead in the bottom of the 5th inning. A couple of changes for Cincinnati. Michael Lorenzen, the new pitcher. You have Tony Cruz over at first base now. Daniel Vogelbach will lead things off for the Mariners. They have the shift on for Vogelbach. Moonshot to center. Billy Hamilton able to track this one a little bit better, makes the catch.
And again, Daniel being aggressive. Let too many fastballs go by.
This is the catch by Haniger to end the last half inning. Not looking like a guy who was in his second Cactus League game. And here is Mitch. You know, we're talking about that 2003 Mariners starting rotation. Ryan Franklin, Freddie Garcia,
who also worked fast.
Freddie Garcia, Gil Mesh, Jamie Moyer, and a guy who is actually in camp right now with the Mariners, Joel Pinheiro. Arrived in camp. Will be serving as a guest instructor. That'll be coming up.
Sounds like he'll be in camp for about a week.
Strikeout completed to first base, 2 down. You know, we have long chronicled Edgar's hotel weight room workouts, Mike, and I think we found the only guy who can keep up on the curl machine with Edgar, as Lorenzen is sporting the tight-fitting spring training jersey, the new pitcher for the Reds. We've got the workout man up on the mound here for Cincinnati. He's not looking like your normal big league pitcher here. Looking more like Cruz. This is the Jake Arrieta look. There's Ford. Word has it that Arrieta is on his way to pitch for the Phillies this year. An appeal. 2 balls and a strike. Well, Mike Ford did something years ago that is remarkably difficult to do at any level of baseball. And there's actually a man on the field for the Reds today who has done it. This is in foul territory and the catch made. And that is homer 4 times in a game. Scooter Gennett actually did that last year with the Reds. Ford did it back in the minors as the Mariners lead through 5. Spring training on Root Sports is brought to you by Dunn Lumber, building success together. And by Safeco Insurance. Find a local agent at safeco.com. Do more. Mariners leading 3-2 as we make our way to the top of the 6th inning. David Phelps, the new pitcher for the Mariners, up on the mound. Taking over for Jason Bradford. Mike Leake before him.
David had pretty good stuff his last time out. He was 94, 95 with his fastball. Pretty good slider, but unfortunately he was in the middle of the plate. So he ended up getting knocked around a little bit, but it is spring training. Not a big deal. For being injured last year, I was just happy to see that he was healthy and really throwing the baseball. We'll see if his command was a little bit better today.
Nothing that resulted in a very candid interview.
It was great. You want to know if he was going to get MVP of the game after he gave up 3 or 4 runs or whatever it was. So his attitude about it was terrific.
Good guy.
Yeah.
Peraza on the second pitch into center field. The odd thing about Phelps, he has never had a season in the majors where he has not been a teammate of Ichiro. And Ichiro even made the joke that when Phelps went from Miami, where he was teammates with Ichiro last year, to Seattle, that Ichiro thought, maybe I will end up back in Seattle. New York, Miami, Seattle. They've been together everywhere. To the gap in left center. Barnhart gets aboard. A couple of base hits to begin the 6th.
I asked David, I said, you and Ichiro must be really good friends. He laughed about it.
That brings up Revere. I think Phelps, though, Mike, really helps to highlight what will be one of the great strengths for the Mariners this year, and that is the bullpen. And we talk all the time about the lineup, and for good reason. It has the potential to be very, very good in terms of power, speed, and everything in between. But this bullpen, Mike, and it's not just the back end. This is the entire thing.
Yeah, it's a deep bullpen. It's a talented bullpen.
Revere tries to lay down a bunt foul.
They can all rush it up there. It will be interesting for me thinking about the bullpen is somebody like Nick Vincent, who, and Scott has said so the last couple of years, because Nick, especially in the first half, has pitched so well that maybe over pitching him a little bit because they didn't have the overall depth that they have out there now. So it would really help Nick out. And he's the one guy out there that he doesn't throw 95. He just gets people out.
And it's so easy for Vincent to kind of fly under the radar because of that. What do you think about, you kind of start to work backwards, Diaz, and of course the acquisition of Juan Nicasio, who is, I think, probably safe to say for the majority of Mariners fans, kind of an unknown because he's been his entire career in the National League. But he has been not only one of the most durable late inning relievers, but one of the most effective ones in the National League.
Well, and that also takes some of the pressure off the ball club. So when Diaz saves the game and he pitches 2, maybe 3 days in a row, they have somebody with experience that can actually close the game, as to try and figure it out by the bullpen or bullpen by committee, trying to lock down a game because Diaz isn't available. So that was a nice pickup by the Mariners.
We've talked about Vincent. Obviously, Pazzo Stepchinski from the left side.
Nobody's thrown the ball better than Dan Altavilla.
That's what I was going to go next. I mean, he has opened up so many eyes with not only the velocity, which we know that Dan has, but really more than anything here in camp, his command.
His command of both his fastball and his slider.
Down on strikes. Phelps a punch out of Revere. 1 out, 2 on.
I'm not sure if this is a slider or a cutter. I know it's 90 miles an hour. It looked like a cutter. And on his hands, just tied him up with it. Good pitch. A lot of movement.
Billy Hamilton's day is done. There's Phillip Ervin in his spot. Runner's taken off. Phelps has to dodge that. Uno a step on second on the first. Time for the double play. That ends the top of the sixth rather quickly. Go to the home half. Mariners have the lead. Go to the bottom of the sixth inning. It is a spectacular day here in Peoria.
Probably about, what, 75 degrees outside?
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Well, as Mike Zunino gets set to lead off the bottom of the sixth, we're joined by Mariners outfielder Mitch Haniger. Mitch, it's good to talk to you. It was an exciting night for you last night to be able to get out on the field. That must have felt just fantastic for you.
Yeah, definitely good to get back out there and compete against a different team.
Mitch, typically in spring training, how many at-bats, how many games do you have to play in before you feel like you're slowing things down at home plate and recognizing the breaking ball and picking up off-speed pitches in general?
Usually a couple. This year kind of ramping it up late because of the hand thing. But, yeah, right now just kind of swinging at pitches out of the zone. That's the main key. Swing feels good. Just try to see some pitches and get a better idea of the zone.
With the injury that you had, obviously you couldn't hit, but what were some of the things that you were able to do?
Everything other than swing with two hands. So I was doing a lot of one-handed drills with my bottom hand, sprint, leg workouts with Cliffy, pretty much everything other than swinging with two hands.
Cliffy, the Mariners strength and conditioning coach. And, you know, Mitch, when we were talking about you making your debut last night in spring training, and now you are facing pitchers who have a starting pitcher, for example, who's making maybe their third or fourth start. They're already working in breaking balls. Is it, I mean, you're getting thrown right into it. You're not able to progress kind of with the pitchers. I assume you kind of saw that coming and were prepared for that?
Yeah, I mean, I knew that was going to be the case. So for now, just try to do everything I normally do in spring training. Yeah, swinging good pitches and just try to get some at-bats and get my feet under me.
How do you feel overall physically? How do you feel?
Great now. Yeah, you know, after the time off from the hand thing, wrist feels great. And yeah, just looking forward to being out there more often and building day to day.
So so there won't be a problem if they run you out there 2, 3, 4 days in a row? But
no,
as far
I don't
as
see
your
a
hand
problem
goes,
at all.
or your wrist, yeah,
no,
good.
Hey, Mitch, we love talking hitting with you. You have such a great way of being able to communicate hitting, and I know when you look over the course of your minor league career that's led you to this point, you kind of had this light bulb moment. And if I kind of remember the story that you told correctly, you're with the Diamondbacks, A.J. Pollock, Nick Ahmed are talking. You're in there in the mix too. Can you kind of talk about that moment where things started to kind of turn around for you and you adopted a brand new approach to what you do at the plate?
Yeah, for me, I always felt like I had a good approach mentally and a good idea of what I wanted to do at the plate, as far as, you know, thinking along with the pitcher and the situation and knowing my strengths as a hitter. But my swing wasn't allowing me to do things that you see big league hitters do, like spray the ball from line to line and be able to have a consistent swing. So for me, it was a bus ride one day that I was backing up a game with the Diamondbacks, and I overheard A.J. Pollock and Nick Ahmed talking, and kind of interrupted them and just said, hey, I hope, like, what are you guys talking about? And they kind of broke it down to me, and kind of led to a series of changes. And for me, it's always, every offseason I'm looking for an area I can get better at. So it's an ongoing process. Hitting something you're never going to master, but for me, I just want to keep growing every day and every year.
So when you make those changes, Mitch, I mean, obviously you spent the winter working out, ready to go to spring training, and then all of a sudden you're making changes. How long before it was comfortable for you?
Yeah, at first, you know, a little awkward, but for me, it was just a slow process, just like with anything. And I just kind of stuck to it and believed in it and knew that there were going to be some good days and some bad days. But I saw progress every day. You know, I was getting better every day, and I knew I was onto something.
Hey, Mitch, it's great to see you out there on the field. Continued success, man. It's good talking with you.
Stay healthy.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
There's Mitch Haniger. We're through 6. Mariners lead the Reds 3-2. Sunday, April 1st, the Mariners are celebrating the start of the season with Kids Opening Day presented by Boeing. All youngsters are invited to join a pregame parade around the field. Plus, they'll receive a free Felix Hernandez t-shirt. Be a part of the fun by picking up tickets now at Mariners.com. I'm glad you're with us from the sunshine in Peoria. Aaron Goldsmith, Mike Flowers, our entire Root Sports crew. New pitcher on the mound for the Mariners, Casey Lawrence, getting loose. Some other changes for the Mariners. Looks like Motter is in the game at third base.
Zach Vinci at shortstop.
This is Dixon Blandino batting in the spot of Suarez. First pitch is shot foul.
And Mike Margema will take over for Mike Zunino.
Margema has caught his breath from his 3-run inside the park homer last night. Oh, 2. Now for Lawrence, making his 4th appearance in the Cactus League. Just over 55 innings last year for the Mariners.
Aaron, I don't know if you mentioned it, but it looks like John Andrioli is in center field now.
All right.
So Heredia is out. I think that covers it.
There's John, the longtime farmhand of the Cubs. Down on strikes.
He has a good slider going today.
Here's Tony Cruz, his first time up, batting for Votto.
Aaron, outside of the weather, what's your favorite thing about spring training?
Boy, the weather is a good place to start, Mike. You know, this is on a personal side. This is the only month of the year where, well, I will say that the night games have thrown this off a little bit.
I knew where you were going.
It's the only month of the year where I can have dinner with my family every night.
Yeah.
And you know what? Even on the night games when it's a home game, we can still. We do the early bird special at the Goldsmiths with the 3- and 1-year-old, so we can still get dinner in and we jet over to the ballpark.
Yeah, I think obviously the weather, but for myself, that's probably. And I think just because you see it all the time here, it's you're getting your work in and you're getting prepared for a season, but there's not the pressure here that you would have in the regular season for everybody. And I think the family part of it is something that everybody enjoys.
We saw Ryan Healy with his son out on the field before the game began. We saw Kyle's son, his oldest son, Cruz Seager, with him all over the place before Cactus League games began. And this is a really fun time for all the families of all the players. Motter at third. That is it routinely for round number 2. But, you know, we say that there's no pressure, but we know that, hey, depending on where you are on the ladder, right? I mean, there's certainly pressure for some of these guys. It's more relaxed, more relaxed.
Yeah. That's a different kind of pressure than what you have once you've made the club and you're in the regular season.
Right.
But yes, well, a number of guys, you're right about that. Trying to make this team, and every day is an important day for them to try to take a step forward. Sure.
We'll say, though, as we're talking about families, for many of the younger guys who are feeling that pressure, many of the younger guys don't have the families to tote around.
Yeah, that's
the established guy. You know, we're talking to Taylor about playing in Florida in spring training versus in Arizona, and I just can't imagine how much time you eat up in Florida on the bus.
A lot of time. Yep.
I mean, it could be 6 hours a day.
Yes. Often.
Three and one.
When you think about it, a lot of times you're not spending the amount of time on just even some of the basic fundamental things because you have to get to the ballpark, jump on a bus to travel that day, when here they work on something every morning regardless of whether they're playing at home or on the road. There's always something going on.
Two outs, nobody on the count, full to Brandon Dixon. Cued, ranging and into center field. And Zach Vince, the new shortstop, going for it. Mariners baseball from spring training is always live with MLB At Bat. The app will keep you connected every day with live radio calls, video highlights, stats, breaking news, and much more. You can download MLB At Bat now. It's your #1 Mariners app. Well, here's a former Mariners farmhand, Patrick Kiplahan. Pretty remarkable story. Was a college football player at Rutgers, and then was prompted to switch to baseball. Hadn't played in the longest time, and I believe led the league in hitting his final season there. This guy to Taylor in front of the track. Waits a while, makes the catch. Lawrence, a scoreless 7th. It's time to stretch. Mariners on top.
Jet Chevrolet is racing to sell 200.
The Reds 3-2 as we go to the bottom of the 7th. The story today, Mike, Ichiro.
Yep, gets his first start today. Questionable call right there. He thought it was ball 4, but said it was called a strike. Hit this line drive well into left field for an out. And then a strikeout for him his 3rd time up. So 3 plate appearances in his first outing. Chance to play a little bit of left field.
How do you think Heredia's Japanese is these days? Working on it? They're figuring it out. Chuck Taylor looks at ball 1. Two and 1 now. Taylor's first time up batting for Ichiro. Taylor down swinging. There's out number 1 to begin the bottom of the 7th. We'll go back to the Ford Sports Desk. We'll say hello to Brad.
Aaron, hello, sir. Good to hear your voice. We know you guys are rooting on the team and watching in Peoria. Let's find out where some other fans are rooting and watching on your Mariners. Hashtag where I root for Reed. Yeah, I got a little butterflies for spring training, but the Mariners doing okay so far. Again, hashtag where I root gives us permission to use your photo on the air, like this one from Angie and a friend. GSL 12 and under, the Valley Bombers doing a tournament. And I don't know, guys, who makes the schedules for those 12 and under tournaments, but it seems to be every weekend because Angie Mentink is off every weekend, guys. So they're either playing tournaments or she's practicing or telling us that they're playing. So good luck to the team, though.
All right, thank you, Bradham. Nothing in 2 on Vinci. Rattled foul, stays alive. You know, Mike read an interesting article the other day that I thought kind of underscores things that we've been talking about Edgar Martinez for many, many, many years. And it was an article about another Martinez, J.D. Martinez.
Yeah.
course, now with the Boston Red Sox, his first year, he's in spring training with them. Coming over from Detroit, coming over from Arizona, with Detroit prior to that. And it was fascinating to read JD Martinez talk about reaching out to David Ortiz, because JD Martinez will now primarily be a DH for the first time in his career. He will not be in right field, and wanting to talk to Ortiz about how difficult it is to every day have the bat be your only tool and not be able to balance it with being in the field and the pressures that come along with that. And we've said that for many, many years about Edgar, how difficult that position is. And it was interesting in an era where there aren't many full-time DHs anymore to hear a guy trying to make the transition.
As far as Edgar goes, and you're right, and DHs that are able to do it for a long period of time, obviously they're productive, but they go about their business differently. And I was right in the middle of it with Gar when Lou first approached Edgar about just being a DH full time, and it was all because of health. He was having a hard time staying on the field. We needed his bat in the lineup. Edgar didn't want to do it at first because of all those things you're talking about. He wanted to stay and play in the field until he got to the point to where he just couldn't do it anymore. But he had to figure all that stuff out too, and I think that's only natural, because when you're playing in the field and you're a position player, if you're having a tough day at the plate, you still feel like you can contribute by making good defensive play on that side. So all of a sudden, if you don't have that opportunity, you better put up some Hall of Fame numbers, like the two guys you just talked about. Yeah, with Edgar and Ortiz.
Danny Muno tiptoes into second base with 2 outs.
And decides to go the other way with it. Solid line drive into left field. Good hustle out of the box. But yeah, that's a tough job. For myself, if you DH every now and then, it's okay. You know, so in other words, it's kind of like a half day off. You don't have to go in the field, and so maybe on a day game they let you DH instead. That part of it, you don't feel those same pressures. But all of a sudden, when this is all you're going to do, and you're going to do it every day, yeah, you better hit.
First pitch to Vogelback. The funny thing is that in the article, they also talked to Hanley Ramirez, who last year had the same conversation with David Ortiz when there was a thought that Hanley would be a full-time DH. And he said, you really want to know what he told me? And they said, yeah, we want to know. And Hanley said, he told me some days you're going to go crazy. Which is kind of along the lines of what you were talking about.
Yeah. Yep.
Two outs, Muno at second. Vogelback, a teammate for a fairly brief period of time, maybe half a season, 3/4 of a season, with a new face in the Mariners organization in camp, John Andreoli, in center field now. Both were with the Cubs. This before Vogelback came over the deadline a couple of years ago. Two and two.
Yes, wait.
No surprise, the berm a popular place to be today. Lorenzen thinking about it. Smash right side and through. Muno speeds around third base. He scores easily. Daniel Vogelback's hot spring continues. He punches home a run with 2 outs, and it's 4-2 Mariners.
Very good spraying, and again, aggressive on the fastball. That fastball elevated above the belt. Still able to get the barrel to it and drive it through the shift. Picks up an RBI.
Evan White takes over running for Vogelback at first base. Shank spending last year with Tacoma. At 215 with the Rainiers. Oh, and 2. Soft lob, keeping an eye on White. Mariners' first-round draft pick last year. So 2 strikes. Trickling to third. No scoop. And a strong throw. Landino at third base now. And that ends the inning. But a run in. Vogelback drives it in to make it 4-2 Mariners.
Baseball is back, we know that. Root Sports taking you to Peoria as we go back to Peoria right now. Lawrence still on the mound as we go back to Aaron and Mike.
All right, thank you for that, Brad. Lawrence facing Sebastian Elizalde. Count goes 2-0. Elizalde wearing number 69, Mike? Francisco Lindor, who was one of the stars of the American League, shortstop for the Indians.
Very good player.
And a spring game, maybe it was yesterday, day before, forgot his jersey, Mike, for a road game, and they gave him essentially Elizalde's number here. So now it made me think, when you're getting on the bus for a road game, you're throwing your jersey in a bag, because during the regular season, right, you're just tipping the clubby and getting on your way.
Yeah.
Things are different in the Cactus League.
Yes.
Hot shot to first base. White is there to cover it. And over for Vogelback. We'll host a picnic at the park for your next group outing at Safeco Field. Select from one of 7 unique group hospitality spaces and customize your experience with food and beverage packages, private bartenders, and more. You'll plan your picnic now at mariners.com/groups.
Down here, the guys will get dressed at their home ballpark and then travel to wherever they're going. Shower at their home ballpark when they get back. So a little bit different than regular season. We talked about it earlier. The travel's excellent down here. What are you waiting, a half an hour, maybe 40 minutes? But yeah, so they'll put their jersey in a travel bag and carry it along with them.
Or not.
Or not. or they don't have to, right?
Well, good for that clubhouse manager to throw an extra one in the bag. Let's put it that way. It did remind me of.
It happens all the time.
More than we noticed.
Yeah.
It did remind me of when Fernando Rodney had the wrong uniform on for a regular season game. He goes around. Swing, he strikes out for round number 2. You know, in Rodney's defense, I guess, or for his fellow relievers, when you're in the bullpen, you're wearing either the bullpen jacket or, in this case, the bullpen long sleeve shirt, so you don't really see that you're wearing the wrong uniform compared to other guys until you start warming up in the 8th, and all of a sudden, in between innings, a clubby's sprinting across the field with your correct jersey on.
I think I started out with number 79.
Ooh, hey.
And worked,
could have been 80.
And started, or maybe 78, but started working my way down from there. My first year in big league camp. That was a pretty good indication that I wasn't making the team, Aaron.
But you had a number.
I had a number, and I was happy to be there.
And you remembered it when you went on the road.
Yeah, I did.
Two on Hudson, new catcher for the Reds.
What would your number be?
Oh, I mean, 98's available, right? There's got to be somebody worse. Somebody's got to have 99. But Aaron Judge is making 99 kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah, he is. Nice hitting for Casey.
Absolutely. Tires his side in order. We go to the bottom of the 8th. Mariners lead by 2.
4-2. You see, baseball is back on Root Sports, taking you to Peoria for Mariners spring training coverage. Tune in tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Pacific to catch the Mariners taking on the White Sox in Cactus League action. Root Sports, your home for Mariners baseball all season long. Welcome back in studio. It's Brad, Adam, Bill Crew. Of course, now, since we sprung forward, we're on the same time as Arizona, so everybody is at 6:30. We see Mike Leake, we see D. Gordon, Ichiro, Bill, going National League to the American League, something you did throughout your career, back and forth. For a pitcher, what's kind of the difference? What does Mike Leake need to learn league to league? Is it strike zone, obviously hitters?
Well, I think for a pitcher, you have a little bit of an advantage coming to a league that hasn't seen you. Everybody's going to see you for the first time. I think that gives you an advantage. Now, when you come to the American League, it's just a different style of league. You've got you have no automatic out in the 9-hole. You have a professional hitter added to the lineup, so the lineup's a lot deeper, and it changes the way you approach, particularly the bottom of the lineup for a pitcher. So these are different challenges. Now, when I played back in the dark ages, we had 2 sets of umpires, and the game was called differently, too. You have an American League umpire that was tighter, that kind of added fuel to the offense. When you know we're the National League, it was pretty noticeable to me that, you had great hitters like Tony Gwynn. They get rung up on 0-2. In the American League, when I played, the 0-2 rung up was a rare thing. So I think with the steady stable of umpires now, you see less of that, but still, American League, a lot tougher to pitch in. But I think the pitcher has an advantage the first time or two around.
So when you say NL going to AL on the mound, what do we add? Maybe not a full run to the Ehrman average, but definitely you're going to see an uptick in runs given up in general, you think?
I think when the umpires were separate, and I used to look at that, I found the average ERA, National America, about 3/4 a run. So when you think about guys that pitched back in those days, when you think about Pedro Martinez and the numbers he put up, or Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens, I'm just picking off the top, the numbers that they could put up, particularly a Pedro Martinez, the numbers he put up and pitching in the American League with that set of umpiring is unbelievable.
Mike out there in Peoria, boy, nice shot there. Beautiful day. I hope you're enjoying your weather out there, Mike. As a hitter, though, going back and forth, is the strike zone a lot different? And what were kind of some of the challenges going league to league as a hitter?
Yeah, I would agree with Bill on that end of it. At that time, the umpires, you had National League umpires and American League umpires. And the thing that was difficult for myself when I was traded to the Dodgers from the Mariners is you put a certain amount of time in, and I felt like for myself hitting, you have to think your way through at bats, and I knew who the pitchers were. I knew what the strike zone was going to be on a given night because of the umpire that was going to be back there. I could game plan and think about those things the night before when I'm driving into the ballpark and have a pretty good game plan on what I was going to have to do or try to do on a given night. When I went over to the National League, I didn't even know where the clubhouse was most of the time. And you're trying to figure out all these things that you take for granted, but it has an effect. And I think so it's not as easy as you'd think. Today it's a little bit different. These guys cross over quite a bit, so and with the umpires and everything else. But it was a challenge for me just because I was so used to and spent so much time getting used to the league and knowing the pitchers and the umpires. And then it became difficult. So I think there was something to it at that time. Today I think it maybe is a little bit easier for the guys.
Did you have I guess most of your career in the AL, I mean, you preferred the American League, Mike?
I did, yes. I liked the game over here in the American League. So, but I think probably, again, because I spent so much time in the American League, I was real comfortable with it. But to answer your question, Brad, the weather here is great today. We are enjoying it. But Brad, yeah. I feel that you're a little bit salty today about Angie taking every weekend off because I hear that it's about 70 degrees and you wish you were on the golf course right now.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I can sense it. I can hear it in your voice.
and a little salty because I know that that's where you are a lot of the time. And tomorrow with those night games.
Night games, that's right.
We like those. Yeah, we'll see you.
Let's have more of them.
I know, yeah. Bill and I will be in studio for that. So, Bill, your take on NL, AL, which one you like better?
Well, I think I'd probably flip. It took me a while to kind of get used to it. At the beginning, it was so much the unknown because I'd played my whole career in the American League, a decade of baseball or more, until I got to the National League. But once I got into the starting rotation routine, oh, I loved it. You got to hit with the regular lineup. You had a chance to hit in a big league game. You got a chance to help your team and move a runner up. I enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed a National League game as a starting pitcher.
Mike, what about as a free agent? I mean, do you think guys really care NL, AL? I mean, does the league sets up better for certain hitters and they really look at that, or are they just kind of going where the contracts are offered?
Well, I think that obviously is probably the biggest part of it, Brad. But I think what they'll do, and especially on the hitting side of things, I think they'll consider the ballpark that they're going to play half their games in. I think that you should do that as part of it. And then, you start looking at the teams and their makeup and what are their opportunities to get into the postseason. All those different things come into play. So, but I think the biggest thing is probably the contract. And I think most players at this level, especially if they've been around to get a contract offered to them, what you're talking about, I think they're pretty confident in their ability to play this game, and they know that it's just a matter of time before they have to make an adjustment, and they'll make those adjustments and be just fine.
I'm guessing kind of the same thing pitchers, Bill. I mean, Mike's right. You're going to pitch half your games in a park. You want to make sure it's a pitcher's park, or at least a place that you feel comfortable in.
Yeah, the money matters. Certainly playing for a winning team matters. The ballpark matters. And I think it's a bigger decision for a pitcher, because I think by the time you get to be a free agent and you get to choose National League over American League, I think most veteran pitchers are choosing the National League for the basic reasons that we've discussed. It's just much more of an offensive league in the American League.
Heading to the ninth, Mariners up 4-2.
So I
As we go to the ninth, final 3 outs for the Reds. Now, this is why they talk about pace of action right here. This is your poster child. Mariners looking for a quick 9th inning here. Mike Morin up on the mound.
Thanks, buddy. Good job.
Morin, a big right-hander, 6'4", 220. Spent last year with the Angels and the Royals. Spent his entire career in Anaheim until last season before going to Kansas City for only 6 appearances out of their bullpen. Facing Herrera to begin the 9th inning. Leak got the start in this one today, his 4th start of the springtime. A little bit of an odd moment early in this game when Robinson Cano mysteriously left the game, and we found out later that Robbie leaving with left hamstring tightness. Hopefully nothing serious there. Robbie looked like he was able to walk back to the clubhouse just fine.
Yeah, I think the hope is that you have a veteran player that realizes that it is a little bit tight, not worth trying to push it and said something about it. Took himself basically out of the game.
Leadoff walk to Herrera. Warren takes over for Casey Lawrence, who threw the ball well, especially in the 8th inning. Now facing Phillip Ervin. Smashed fair inside the bag at third. Motter diving after it. All the way to the corner, and Herrera thinking about starting up again at third base, but he holds there. Ervin ropes a double. That's Taylor now in left field. He took over for Ichiro. Blandino the batter. He's the go-ahead run. Now, today we had a chance to see Guillermo Heredia in center field for the first time. This seems like kind of a spring training oddity, Mike, but we saw D. Gordon in the dugout, did we not?
We did.
And he's not in the lineup today. What does that ever happen? I mean, seriously.
I agree, especially a veteran player.
Yeah, he's making the D. You're making the team, you know.
Oh, he knows.
That's pretty interesting, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not something that you see very often, that's for sure.
Moore in a bit of trouble here. Looped center field, base hit. Herrera scores. Ervin holding at third base. Reds now within a run. First 3 men reaching.
Well, he's going to take advantage of a fastball in the middle of the plate, lines it back up the middle. Well, Mike Moore in a little bit of trouble here. Turns up by a run, first and third, nobody out. Strong throw by Andrioli. One hop strike.
Here's Tony Cruz. Tying run at third. Starts him off with the first pitch strike. Now Morin's going to need some fancy pitching to get out of this jam. An appeal on the check. He does not go. It's 2-1. I'm hoping for that strikeout or an easy pop-up. And then a chance for double play. The 2-1. Sock to left center. Taylor angling back, and she's gone. 3-run blast, Tony Cruz. And the Reds have taken the lead here in the top of the 9th.
Always difficult pitch in the middle of the plate, and that's especially true down here. The ball really carries, and Mike today more in the middle of the plate with his fastball. That's hurt him, including that last pitch for the home run. Still nobody out.
4 have reached. Looks like Sean Armstrong beginning to loosen up inside the Mariners bullpen. Brandon Dixon, the batter. There's Armstrong. He goes. And that is all. He realizes it. On number 1. Oh, they're happy they'll be about in the 9th inning.
Good day to be out on the berm.
Look here at Patrick Kivelahan of the Reds. The appeal, he does not go. 1-1. Now for the Mariners now, minor league camp is in full swing. And we're seeing a number of cuts, guys being reassigned to minor league camp. That was true again today. Oh my. Hit the knob or the elbow pad?
I thought he hit the knob of the bat.
It sure sounded like it.
Mel Stottlemyre on his way out to the mound. And we'll take a look at it. Fastball. Off the elbow.
Man. Yeah, right there. That jumped off that elbow pad. Kivelahan aboard with 1 out. Matt Haig, the UW product, reassigned to minor league camp. Another Husky, Braden Bishop. Reds now lead at 6-4, 1 out. Kivelahan at first. Elizalde, the batter. You know, when we were over in Scottsdale a couple of days ago for the Mariners-Giants game, all this time I never realized that for the Giants, their minor league complex is a 5-minute drive from their major league field and their major league clubhouse.
I didn't realize that either.
They have one regulation-sized field next to their game field. Then they have basically just an infield. So when players get cut, you don't just get your bag and walk across the hall. You get in the car, you drive 5 minutes to the minor league side of things. They're in such a small, condensed area in Old Town Scottsdale, but of course, so many complexes like the Mariners here in Peoria, everything under one roof.
I think it's good for the minor leaguers to be around the big league club and watch these guys and have a chance just to even see them and watch the way they go about their business. I would think that you would want your minor leaguers to at least have that access to them.
One out of the 1-2. Looped into right field for a base hit. Kivelahan pushes into second. Elizalde aboard at first. And 6 of the 7 men have reached here in the 9th. Here comes Scott.
Go Mariners!
Armstrong
Go
warming
Mariners! Go Cougs! Go Cougs!
We've got a pitching change here in the 9th inning. 1 out and 2 on. We'll step aside.
Have you heard about Bruce Titus car guides? They take you through the whole
complex this year. Juniors number 24 as the Reds now lead at the top of the 9th inning. Well, we want you to join the conversation for up-to-date game information and live interaction. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Check us out and stay connected with Root Sports. Six for Cincinnati. Sharm Armstrong, the new pitcher for the Mariners. In the big leagues for parts of the last 3 years with the Indians. Facing Darnell Sweeney to begin things. Now this has been a taxing 9th for the Mariners. A 3-run homer by Tony Cruz. An RBI base hit before that. A 4-run 9th so far for Cincinnati, just 1 out and 2 on. I saw Juniors 24 a couple of years ago when the Mariners were in Cincinnati. They had one of the most coveted bobbleheads of the Major League season, the dual Griffey bobblehead. And then of course the Mariners last year had the dual Ichiro bobblehead. They weren't exactly just giving those Griffey bobbleheads out to people in the press box.
They weren't. I remember how upset you were about it too.
I think that was the same series where Franklin Gutierrez hit about a 700-foot home run at Great American Small Park. Just crushed it. Down on strikes. Much needed out number 2.
Catcher, 67, Joe Hudson.
Brings up Joe Hudson, 9th batter of this 9th inning. Reds have the lead. Check swing. The Mariners were Maybe hoping for something along those lines to end the inning. Damage dealt. Mariners now down to their final 3 outs. Inning here in Peoria, a beautiful day, and this has been Ichiro Day in many ways, making his 2018 Mariners debut, getting a fine ovation when he took the field, did his usual stretching and left. Felix teaching him a thing or two. Now the Mariners down by 2, down to their final 3 outs. Taylor Motter will lead things off for the Mariners. Motter telling us earlier today that he's looking to use more of the entire field this season, not just be quite the pull hitter. Up the middle. Motter trying to leg it out. Number 1. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Seattle Mariners and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Seattle Mariners. 1 out, nobody on for Chuck Taylor. Taylor behind 1-2. Taylor now 24 years old, from Arlington, Texas. Made it as high as Double-A ball last year. Mariners Double-A affiliate in North Little Rock. Kick back towards home, and Taylor's aboard.
Can you tell if he was able to get his glove on it? No, I think maybe that was off his leg.
Going to take a look at Floro here.
Seems to be fine.
Now Mac Jenkins, the pitching coach, Long walk for a clap of the hands.
They hit him in the ankle.
One out, one on. Mariners down 3. Down 2, I beg your pardon. Here is Vincey. Now Vincey facing his former parent club. Former draft pick of the Reds. Smashes this foul. Vincey able to make it up to the big leagues last year with Cincinnati for a short period of time. Just 9 at-bats. Picked up his first big league hit. But the rest of last year, AAA Louisville. Tied him up. 2 outs. And now it's up to Danny Muno. Took over for Cano very early in this game. Well, the Mariners will continue ping-ponging between day games and night games. Night game last night. Today under the sunshine. Night game tomorrow for the Mariners. Back here in Peoria. Muno cues this inside the bag and fair. Taylor rounding second. Gets a stop sign at third. Muno stands up with a double. Well, the Mariners bring the winning run to the plate.
And he's hit the ball the other way a couple of times. Second double in the ball game. And came into the game for Robinson Cano all the way back in the first inning, but just inside the bag. Easy double for him.
Ups in the catcher chat with Floro. And in steps Evan White. Last year's first-round draft pick for the Mariners. Foul over by first base. Now White last year had some leg problems, limited his time with the Aqua Sox, just 14 games. Healthy now. One and one. White, of course, a Kentucky guy. I think we know who he's got winning his bracket. I think you know who we have, who Seager has winning his. Seager, of course, a Tar Heel. The 1-2. Off the glove of Foro again. It starts to die. 1 run in, a 2nd run coming, tag applied, and he is out. And that is your game. Mariners come that close to tying this thing up in the 9th, but they end up falling by a final score of 6-5.
Mike Leake, 76 pitches, so he's getting closer. Had a pretty good outing again today. Threw a lot of first pitch strikes, which was good to see. Mike Zunino, a couple of hits for him and 2 RBIs, really stung the baseball today. And David Phelps, nice bounce back throw in his last outing. Again, threw the ball well this afternoon.
Glad you could join us today from Peoria for Mariners Cactus League Baseball. We'll be with you again tomorrow night, 6:30. We're on the air as the Mariners Cactus League schedule continues. So for Mike Flowers and our entire Root Sports crew, I'm Aaron Goldsmith. Good night from Peoria.